Go.
Hello, everybody. This is Ryan Lanier. I am in Austin, Texas, and my business is called Organizing for Good. And my passion is to shout out area nonprofits because they are doing some fantastic work. And today's guest is no exception. I'm so excited to bring back Kim Updegrove, Executive Director of Mother's Milk Bank of Austin. Welcome back.
Thank you. Good to be here.
She's a veteran. I just don't even need to be here. So you guys are in for a treat. We talked back in May of 2020, and we were just reminiscing about what COVID was at that point and how it's just so interesting now. But before we get into all that, I would really like Kim to just jump right in and share with you about what the Mother's Milk Bank is.
Thanks, Ryan. I love to talk about the milk banks. So the milk bank is one of those secret nonprofits, right? We are a nonprofit started in 1999 to save babies' lives by providing pasteurized donor human milk. And those are a whole lot of big words. Basically means that women who are healthy and lactating, who are producing a little more milk than their baby needs, can go through a screening process, donate that milk, then we take that milk and we test it and pasteurize it, making it safe, meaning eliminating the viruses and bacteria that are inherent in milk. And then we provide that milk to babies in need. And the primary babies who receive that milk are babies in the neonatal intensive care units, very specialized units in hospitals all around the country. So we're serving about 185 hospitals in Texas and 26 other states. And those babies are 3 and 2 and 1 pound each. They're really tiny little babies, basically fit in your hand. And for them, milk is life-saving. There is no other option. So the women who donate are saving lives. And we are processing the milk to make it safe enough for those tiny babies whose lives need saving.
Absolutely. And I love that it seems so natural, but so many people have probably not even heard of it. And how widespread in the country is the milk bank? Are there other than
That's a
Austin?
really good question. So the Mother's Milk Bank in Austin is the largest milk bank in the world. From the perspective of how many hospitals are being served, we're it.
Wow.
Now, there are 28 other nonprofit milk banks in this country. They might be small, they might be hospitals based, but they are present and they are also helping to save babies' lives. But you asked about the scope of the problem because we're a solution, right? So what are we a solution for? The scope of the problem is 60,000 very low birth weight babies who are born each year. And that term is a medical term. Very low birth weight means 3.5 pounds or smaller. These are the babies that we deliver and they sit in our hand and we quickly help them establish a technique for breathing. We intubate them, we put them on a ventilator, and then we quickly establish for them a feeding protocol because they were babies that were intended to be in the uterus for another 3, 4, 5 months. And now that they're out, they need to be fed, they need to be kept hydrated, and they need to get nutrients to make sure that their bodies continue to develop, especially their brains. The milk does that.
Absolutely amazing. Absolutely.
So 60,000 is a lot, right?
60,000 is a lot. It is a lot.
Hard to wrap your head around that. So in numbers that maybe make more sense to people, in 2021, we dispensed just under 1 million ounces of human milk to those babies, right? So it's not only McDonald's that counts their food production. We count our ounces.
Millions and millions served.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a big need. And I think what's important to understand is why is there that need, right? These are human babies. So human babies born to human moms, and moms are programmed, if they can have a baby, they should be able to lactate. except that there are a whole lot of things that interfere with your ability to successfully lactate. It begins with education about setting a breastfeeding goal, and then it goes to support, what we very affectionately refer to as a breast friend.
Absolutely.
Everybody needs that person in their life who says, oh, I did that, and here's how it feels, and here's the best latch, and here's the frustration of what it's like to be on a 24/7 feeding schedule with this baby, and on and on and on. Exposure to lactation educators and supporters is also very, very critical, and not everybody has that access. I see your sweet hubby sneaking into the room, and that's totally,
Okay.
totally invited because I know him as that sweet guy.
No, I have.
I can keep talking about these babies and what they
Okay.
do.
Yes, this is fun.
So moms who are attempting to breastfeed their babies, they need something. They need a cascade of hormones that happens in their bodies to stimulate milk production and milk letdown. And they need that baby's physical presence with them. So when we deliver a baby that fits in my hand, a big hand, but nonetheless in my hand, and we take that baby immediately to the neonatal intensive care unit, exactly, right? That baby is physically separated from that mom. And the circumstances that led her to deliver a baby early also work against her. So she's got physical separation. She's got her own medical complications. And then she has one more critical component, and that's the emotional attachment to the baby, right? So not knowing your reader's experience of pregnancy and baby birthing, some of us have had babies and some of us haven't. But I can tell you that every person who thinks about having a baby is picturing a sweet, cuddly, 8-pound, lovely, squirmy, crying thing that comes home from the hospital with you within 24 hours and life is grand. They're not picturing something that fits in my hand. They're not picturing this tiny little baby that looks more like a baby bird than a baby human. And seeing
Tubes and
that experience is so emotionally distressing. It interrupts the successful breastfeeding journey. So the need comes because we're humans and we react to the physical and emotional separation and the stress caused by having a baby in the NICU. So our milk supply then is interrupted, and that's where donor human milk comes in play. When the biological mother cannot make milk of her own for her baby, pasteurized donor human milk is necessary, because while human milk for human babies is best in any community, in any population, it is life-saving in the NICU. So in the NICU, there's no other choice.
It's amazing that you were able to realize, well, it's going to take some time, but there is a way to get human milk pasteurized and packaged into these babies. It's just, it's so mind-blowing to me. And it takes, I bet, a lot of science, a lot of people, a lot of medical professionals to keep that machine going. I donated back in the day. We'll just go ahead and talk about mothers donating now. It's more like a later conversation, but let's just jump into that, because I know that a lot of people want to know about, the formula shortage, and we do want to talk about that. But let's just talk about, so me as a mom, I had a couple of kids and I heard about this and I said, I want to do this. And I did. And so what advice do you have to someone who says, well, either no lactating mom, or gosh, what do I say? How do I get involved?
I love that you donated. Thank you for doing that.
I love it too. It makes me so happy.
Every time I talk to a person who donates, I have this flashback to my own motherhood journey with little infants who are on this 24/7 schedule. And it's exhausting, let's face it. I mean, let's be real, women. It is totally exhausting. And it's exhausting for the dads too. But it's most exhausting for the women who give birth, are now lactating, are on this repetitive schedule for months and months and months. So thank you for that. But, the need for human milk goes on. So as exhausting as early motherhood is, we still reach out to mothers who are healthy and lactating and say, you could be a hero. You could be that person who pumps 1 extra ounce per day and stores it in the freezer in a safe container and goes through the screening process and becomes a milk donor. And that screening process takes a minimum of 4 days. 4 days because there's some blood work required. Even though you've just been pregnant and just had a baby and probably had more blood work than you ever wanted to have in your life, you're going to need one more set of tests. And that is because lots of stuff happens to us, and the risk of passing something via our milk has to be checked out. You have to be assured that when you receive donor human milk for your baby, that milk doesn't contain anything that could make the baby safe. So we run tests for HIV, HTLV, syphilis, hepatitis B, and hepatitis C. But while that's the blood work requirement, the rest is just talking through with the donor screeners your lifestyle and your medical status. It's looking at things like, do you drink alcohol? You can have a glass of wine, but you have to wait 6 hours before you can pump to donate to the milk bank, because that alcohol is transferred via your milk. And our little ones whose brains are developing so rapidly need to not be exposed to alcohol.
Right.
And you can take that ibuprofen and that Tylenol, and that's totally fine. And you don't have to wait any length of time, but we need to know why you're taking it. What is the medical condition that leads you to need those mild pain relievers? Is there any risk then in your milk that would potentially harm a preterm infant? So we explore all of those issues. And once you pass that screening test, the interviews and the blood test, then you get to donate your milk. And you can donate your milk from wherever you are. You could be here in Austin, and if so, come see us. We'd love to meet our milk donors. But you could also be down in the valley. You could be in McAllen or Harlingen, or you could be in Atlanta, Georgia, or you could be in Hackensack, New Jersey. You can pass the screening process, and then we ship your milk to us at our expense. We send you a UPS label and a cooler for shipping in your milk. And then we pay that milk to come all the way here to Austin, because we are the processing plant. We are the plant that will pasteurize your milk and eliminate those bacteria and viruses that could be harmful to a little baby who's just 1 or 2 pounds.
Wow.
So anywhere you can be a hero.
They'll send you a label to, consign your clothing.
Yes.
So why not get a label to send in your milk?
Exactly. And it's really fun. We, because we're in social media land now, we are in social media land all the time. And so we love to see our donors from far away places take pictures of themselves packing up their box. Take a picture of their baby, observing them packing up their box. And then we're able to post that and say, look what we got from Savannah, Georgia today. And it's just so fun to call it out, because heroes are heroes, right? And it's hard for us to find our individual way to be a hero. These moms who donate are all heroes.
I had no idea that you could be anywhere and get your milk in. That's amazing. That's up leveling. Let's just say that is up leveling. So
yes.
Wow. Okay. I've also volunteered on site there with my son, and we were putting labels on bottles of pasteurized milk. So it's quite a production over there.
It is quite a production.
So far. Like you guys
Yeah.
are really, yeah.
There's so much for everyone to do, right? So we've talked a lot about lactating women and what they can do to be a hero, but everybody is welcome to do the heroic work that supports babies surviving because of pasteurized donor human milk. So volunteers in Austin, mother-daughter groups, mother-son groups, dad-son groups, Junior League of Austin. We have so many individuals who volunteer by taking home art supplies, tapping into their creative talents and making wind chimes, which then get hung in our memorial garden. So we have some land surrounding our building, and part of that land has been dedicated as a memorial garden. And in that memorial garden are river stones that are etched with the first name of babies whose mothers donated milk despite the fact that their own babies didn't survive. The lactation happens whether our baby survives or not. If we've been pregnant, our body's going to stimulate milk. And for some moms, that grieving process that needs to happen is best served by allowing that milk supply to dry up. For other moms, that grieving process is best served by expressing that milk for some length of time and donating it to the milk bank so that they can save other babies' lives. And when they do that, and so there have been 865 women who have done that so far. Their babies' names get etched on that river stone, and they are at the flower base in the memorial garden. The wind chimes are in the trees, and the wind chimes are made perpetually by the volunteers. They move and they make music the way that children move and make noise. And it's a beautiful space for everyone to enjoy. Almost every weekend when I stop by the office, I see a family out there having a picnic at the picnic tables. They may or may not have experienced a loss, but something about the memorial garden dedicated to mothers and infants who've lost, it resonates with them, and it's so fun to see them. And that's a volunteer job that anybody can participate in. It's a wonderful way to give back.
You know, most of these interviews I do choke me up, and box checked. You got me. That is just such a gift on so many levels. So just that's an amazing idea, and I'm glad that that is a thing. So so you've already heard so many ways that you can support the milk bank, and near and far, lactating or not. And also, you know, we've been putting a lot of their social media posts on our, so you can feel free to share those as well. So I want to turn a little bit to, because this is such an education moment. People are learning things just by this conversation. However, with the continuation of COVID and supply chain issues, we're having a big problem with formula. So let's, you know, formula is a thing. It will always be a thing. However, you know, can you just share a bit of just, you know, from, you know, what exactly what's going on. So share a bit with people, please.
Yeah, so I'm so glad you brought this up. And let me first say that just like with COVID, there's no shaming here. Families choose to feed their babies in lots of different ways. And part of that's cultural, part of that is the employment practices in the US. It has a lot to do with what support is and isn't present. But families in the United States who have chosen to formula feed their infant are in a particular state of crisis these days. And that stems, just to give a very brief history lesson, that stems from one of the 4 formula manufacturers in the United States experiencing difficulty following the US FDA regulations we all follow here at the Milk Bank as well. They broke some rules, and that led to some contamination of some of their formula products that led to a shutting down of their major plant in Sturgis, Michigan, and a recall of 3 of their major products, 3 major formulas that happen to be the most affordable formulas. They are the formulas that you find on the grocery store shelves, and they are the formulas that were previously provided via a voucher system to any family obtaining formula through the WIC clinics here in Texas. So when those formulas were recalled, of course, the families then needed to turn to the 3 other manufacturers to obtain formula from them. And in most healthy infants, you can switch formulas and not experience a problem. A transitional period, yes, it'd be like us switching from a pescatarian diet to adding in the occasional hamburger. We'll experience a transition, but we can handle it. But what happened in this case is that we're in the midst of now our 3rd year of COVID. Hello, kitty cat. And that means that we've got supply chain interruptions. So every manufacturer was experiencing the same problems of finding the appropriate staff and the appropriate equipment and supplies they needed to produce what they normally produce. So the other 3 manufacturers of formula were experiencing a decline in their ability to move product to market. And yet suddenly they had more families seeking those products. To make it more complicated, WIC had to negotiate with the manufacturer experiencing the recall, with Abbott, to allow their voucher system to let the families use the other products. So Abbott did the right thing and allowed the voucher system to be flexible, but those families seeking formula couldn't find it on the shelves. So formula is found in grocery stores and retailers like Target and
Walmart.
Yeah, but really, really hard to find it. So all of a sudden, beginning in late February, the milk bank experienced families calling. Not calling because they had sick babies who needed pasteurized donor human milk, but calling because they were unable to find the food for their infants. And these are very unusual calls. As I reported to the press, these were calls with families sobbing, unable to meet their baby's basic needs. And so seeking some help. So thank you, milk donors. Thank you, financial donors. We were able to expand our production by a little bit and expand our policies or flex our policies so that we were able to, and are still able to, provide a small volume of pasteurized donor human milk to those families with their healthy infants, provide it charitably, so no exchange of funds for this milk, and then while providing them with that pasteurized donor human milk, which really just covered them for a maximum of 2 days, help them identify retailers they hadn't thought of where they might find their formula. Because their decision about how to feed their infant has been made. There is no shame or finger pointing here. The reliance on formula is a countrywide culture issue, not a family issue.
Right.
So we helped the families find the food that they need for their babies, and the formula crisis is not over. So families continue to struggle, and we see the evidence of that as reported by children's hospitals who see infants who are being fed diluted formula.
Right.
Struggling, right? Can you imagine if you couldn't feed your infant and you couldn't find any other substance? You might dilute their food to make it stretch a bit. Infants can't tolerate that water intake, so those babies then end up getting sick. Families also will make a mistake and turn towards plant-based milk or whole bovine milk. And infants can't tolerate that either. So those aren't the answers. The government, the US government, is doing what it can to bring in more formula, to allow those manufacturers to produce more formulas, so release some product that will help them to process. It's just taking time to turn around. So families are in trouble. And anyone who wants to help can, don't hoard formula. I know it's in our guts to make sure our closets are filled with our favorite type of toilet paper and our favorite type of tissue to make sure that we don't run out, right? Don't do that with formula. Get your week or 2 weeks supply and then leave the rest on the shelf for the families who need it this week. The manufacturers are continuing to make formula. Don't hoard it. If you did hoard it, no shame. Call a retailer and offer it back. In Austin, you can call the diaper bank and donate it, and they'll help get it to those families in need. Call us and we'll help you to find that family in need as well, but don't hoard it. Then secondly, for those families who are in crisis and we end up serving them with donor human milk, that means we need more milk donors than ever. If you're a healthy lactating mother, call us, go through the screening process. We'll make it as painless as possible and as short as possible so that you can quickly become a hero. And if you want to donate financially so that we can continue to donate that milk to those families in need, do that. $10 goes a long way. Any amount helps. And so there's lots of things that people can do to help this formula shortage. And so don't hesitate to dig down deep and find your inner hero and donate in some way.
Whew. I just feel like that was a mic drop.
That was a lot.
I learned so much. And the main theme I want to reiterate is that people act out of fear. People act out of just gut instinct with maybe without even knowing what they're doing. And it's okay. There's no shame in the choices that people make, especially the ones based out of fear. And overbuying formula is definitely going to be a fear-based decision. And it's okay, right? You can rectify that situation and still share. And I just feel like, have we learned nothing in the past 3 years? Is that's just not how it works. The people who continue to suffer are the people who are already suffering. And then their levels of suffering are being deepened by this. So I think sharing that mission, sharing that message is huge. It's huge.
That's really well said, Brian. I mean, we're human beings, right? So we have a flight or fight reflex for a reason. Fear protects us. But in this case, let our also innate need to be compassionate win over fear. Take what you need, give what you can share.
Well, that's just like the whole world just should listen to that message right there. So, wow. Is there anything I haven't asked you about yet? We've really, covered so many amazing things, but if there was anything left you wanted to share, I would love to hear it.
The only thing is just a little love for all the families out there. Everybody's struggling with something, right? It's COVID, it's formula shortage, it's the need for pasteurized donor human milk, it's a baby in the NICU. It's just stuff. It's a hubby at the door who needs something during an interview. It's so much stuff.
So much.
Let it go. Everyone needs to breathe. Everyone needs to think about how blessed we are. It's going to be okay. And tomorrow we'll have different challenges. We have the capacity to just let it go, take it in, and live.
Beautiful. Very well said. Thank you so much, Kim, for your time today. I know you have a very tight schedule, and this was very special to come join us today. So thank you so much for your time and everything you have taught us today.
Thank you, Ryan. It's always a pleasure to see you.
So great. So thank you guys for listening, watching, sharing, caring, donating, whatever you've learned today. Talk about it at the dinner table, talk about it at happy hour. Just share some of the interesting things you no doubt learned today. And we have a lot of interviews on this nonprofit Shoutout interview channel. So you can binge a few of those and find a nonprofit that really just sings to your heart and dial into them. And the support you will get for doing that will be just amazing. So thanks everybody for watching and have a fantastic rest of your day. I'm Ryan Lanier, Organizing for Good. I'm in Austin, Texas. We'll see you next time.